Hi, hello, and welcome to R.S. Prasanna, who directed Sitaare Zameen Par, but also before that, Shubh Mangal Savdhan, right?
Yes.
And the Tamil version even before that. So, welcome, Prasanna, and it's so delightful to speak to you because I adored Sitaare Zameen Par, and I think it talked about all the things that we need at this moment in our society and country. But I don't want to sort of load you with that burden of sort of correcting the environment and the nation that we're living in. But it is interesting that at some moments, movies come with sort of tend to either tap into the zeitgeist or try to change it. And I felt that Sitare Zameen Par was one movie that was trying to change the way we think. And I think that's a very honorable thing that you did. But apart from that, also, it was such a joyous movie. So thank you very
Thank you.
much for it. So I
Thank you,
really
Kaveri.
want to
That's
ask
very
you how,
sweet of you.
I wanted to ask you how you conceived it and how you put the amazing cast together and really what it has taught you, what the success of it has taught
First of all, thank you, Kaveri, for wonderful such uh, words of love. Thank you so much. It made my day. And I think this is what we live for, right? The most, all of us have special needs, and the most special need is love and acceptance. So I think all
you.
of us are battling for it. All of us are crying for it. Some of us shout it out. Some of us don't even have a voice to shout it out. So I think love is something that all of us are yearning for, right? And I think, speaking of zeitgeist, I think love and the need for love will always be in the zeitgeist, whether we become taken over by the AI or whatever happens. I think these are primary emotions, right? So for me, making this movie was, I think for me, movies are the movies I have liked have always tapped into the vulnerable side of human beings, has always tapped into the uh, almost like the journey of a misfit, right? So I think even in Shubmangal Savdan, there is a man who's going through performance anxiety, and in Kalyana Samil Sadhan, the original of that which I wrote and directed, and in Sitare Zameen Par also, you have so many misfits in the movie. Actually, you have a mom who's a misfit in a sense. You have the cook who marries her, who's a misfit in a sense. It's actually a movie of misfits, isn't it? So, for me, in fact, the most adorable character of that whole movie was Gulshan, because a guy, I was seeing Gulshan through the eyes of uh, the Sitare, and I was seeing Gulshan through the eyes of the ever loving uh, and the inclusive Kartar Paji. You see, the way Kartar Paji looks at Gulshan is so beautiful. He doesn't judge him, he doesn't exclude him in his inclusivity, right? He's all love. And for him, he feels that even within Gulshan, there is that empathy, and all you need to do is to go on a journey from, let us say, a non-aware state to an aware state. But Kartar Paji represents that optimist within all of us, you know. And so I think for me, Gulshan also was a misfit. Possibly he was brought up that way. Maybe he was missing a father. Maybe those are the role models he saw in life. But so all of these things interested me in the material a lot. And I felt also that we don't give enough credit to the Indian audiences. The mainstream Indian audiences are quite often talked down to, condescended to, and sometimes derided. We have so many articles written about how, but we must never forget it is the same Indian audience that has accepted some of the most beautiful movies, which even the industry and the trade pundits said would not be a hit, but the Indian audience has made them hit time and again. I'm saying going back, right. I mean, going back to Chennai, where I grew up watching Kamal Hassan's movies, Balachandra Saab's movies, very, very difficult films. At the making, while they were making it, people told them this would never work. Even a Swati Mutyam, for example, a Guna, which spoke about neurodivergence at that time, when neurodivergence was not even a word that we all knew. So I think Indian audiences have always supported movies which speak humanity, and I think they came in a huge number for Sitare, and I can't be thankful enough for that, because it is only the power of that invisible audience that a director has a conviction on, right? Because all that you see while making a movie is the people around you, and if they believe in you, great. But if they don't believe in you, it is a director or a filmmaker or a producer. What is the conviction we keep our conviction on that phantom audience saying that they will come.
So that was going to be my next question, Prasanna. How does a director who is in a way prey to the environment around him or her, like an actor, director is only as good as the producer, as the team that he or she has. So, how did you convince a producer like Amir to step up and, sort of carry you along on this journey?
I think Kaveri, you can never really convince anyone. You can only even like Gulshan, like Kartar Paji saw inside Gulshan possibly a child, who he needed to bring out. So I don't think adults can ever be convinced really. I think you can only choose people who you feel the sensibilities are matching. And of course, you have discussions on the film and you have discussions on the script. Those are the craft side of it. But I think unless Amir sir is a person who genuinely is moved by this material, he's not going to produce anything, right? And I've always, in that sense, been blessed to work with producers. I've also, in a way, kind of chosen my producers, and they have, like, what you seek is seeking you, right? So in my first film also, Kalyana Samuel Sadam, I had a wonderful set of producers whose sensibilities really matched with the film. And I think that's what I'm really looking at when I work with people, that the sensibilities match and the value systems match, right? Because once that matches, सबका अपना अपना normal, we all have different views, and that's absolutely fine. But so long as we feel the same emotion, so long as we are fighting for the same cause, you know it's very important. Like, for example, to give you a real example, both the Tamil producers and Anand Rai here in Hindi, who made Shubmangal Savdan, and the first time producers Anand Govindan and Arun Vaidyanathan, they loved the narration I gave, and they believed truly in the message of Shubmangal and Kalyana Samal Sadhan, that it's more important for a man to stand up for a girl in real life than to stand up in bed. So they genuinely believe that. And same way with Amir sir, I think he's a truly inclusive person, right? We all know that. So I knew that he would understand the nuances of this movie, and quite apart from all the craft and all the fact that he's a great producer, actor, I think it's the human inside him that I look at while casting, or like even in casting, like why did I go to Amir sir to play this role? Like, because I knew that he's a highly empathetic person. So I knew that inside Gulshan there is a good guy, so to speak, right? He's not a lost case, right? He he argues, he's rude, he's whatever, but it is Sitare who know intuitively that he needs healing, and so do we. All of us require healing, right? So that beautiful message of healing is something that I would know. I knew intuitively that Amir sir would resonate with. You know, so I think you cannot truly convince a person who's not already in the value systems or the goal of the theme of the film. Like, in a way, you need allies. Then you
Yeah.
take it to the world who possibly need convincing.
There are two other things that I wanted to focus on. One is the relationship with Janelia, which is very interesting. And in a way, the relationship that Ayushman and
Bhumi.
Bhumi have in Shubh Mangal as well. That's one. I think it's a very interesting dynamic that I see there. It's not your usual couple dynamic that you see in most Hindi and Indian cinema. I think it's very equal and it's very refreshing,
Thank you.
and it's almost it traverses the area of companionship and what true friendship and true sort of commitment means, even if they're not together, even if they have troubles. That's one. And the second thing I wanted you to talk about was this, the possibility of tipping over into, uh, you know, how do I say it? That famous thing in Tropic Thunder, you never go full retard. I'm sorry to use that word. But
Of course.
it's that thing that how do
Yeah.
you play that
The thin
delicate
line.
balance? Yeah.
Yeah.
So these were two things that I wanted to talk to you about.
Wonderful. So I think to the first question, Kaveri, I think I credit it to all the wonderful women in my life, starting from my grandmother, my mother, my friends, my teacher, my wife, then girlfriend, now wife. So I think
What does she do?
such
What does
wonderful.
your wife do? Is she
Her
also
name is
in
Meenakshi.
cinema?
Yes,
Oh,
she's a writer. She writes
oh,
books. She's just begun her journey of writing books, writing
okay.
screenplays. And in fact, I must tell you an interesting anecdote. When she wrote this beautiful screenplay, which I want to produce at some point, and she's allowed me to kind of have a go at it. And she was narrating it to somebody, and that gentleman or said that, is it how much of it is, it seems very similar, like you two guys think very similar, like Prasanna and you think very similar. And she said, yeah, that's why we got married. So I think that was a big compliment for me, that then she told this to me later on, that this thing happened. So I was feeling happy that my when you also spoke about it, because I think that's a very important thing as a
Yeah,
male to do, because I do believe, and I don't want to sound too controversial, but I think a lot of good natured, well natured males are also victims of patriarchy. We are not aware of how to traverse this jungle of patriarchy, because if you're a person who gives equal importance to your wife, you're labeled that you're in Tamil we have the saying pondati dasan, like you're the slave of your wife and you're
slave of
lampooned.
your wife.
Yeah, and then growing up, if you talk about your body count, if you talk about a certain toxic masculinity, you are kind of you get cool points. But if you're a person who's actually like hanging out with the girls in a platonic manner, you're called gay, you're called whatnot. Though of course being gay is nothing wrong, but there's a lot of conversations that I would like to have with my own sons as they grow up. And I hope when they're 14, 15, 16, whatever, they watch Shubmangal Savdan and they're proud of their father, that okay, my dad made movies that kind of speak of a post patriarchal world, where we're looking at each other as you're beautifully feminine, I'm beautifully masculine, and there's a continuum. And it's a partnership. It's like yin and yang, right? It's like I cannot imagine a world without women, right? And I think that is what keeps your balance in the world. So I think I've been brought up with those values, and I'm so glad you noticed it. And like Sugandha, be it Budit Sugandha and Shubmangal, or in Sitaare also, Sunita and Gulshan, I think companionship is the right word. Which is why for me, when I came to the scene where the mother has this beautiful relationship with the cook, it is so beautiful, because it's actually it's for me it's couple goals, right? And
That's
it was
that's the that's the best part of the movie. You know, it just sort of cracked everyone up in the audience.
yeah,
It was so
yeah.
lovely.
Thank you,
And it
thank
was
you. It was,
played in such a subtle way by both Rajendra Kala and Dolly
yeah,
Alwaya. They're fantastic actors, but still, I
yeah.
think they just nailed it.
In fact, I keep telling I'm a huge fan of Rajendra Kalaji, and I wish that I cast him in every movie. He's such a delight to work with. It's it's like it's very unexpected. The only thing you can expect from him is that he's going to surprise you, right? So he's going to give you something that's totally off rhythm, but that is so charming, so attractive, and it's not predictable, right? So I knew he would nail this role. But for me, why I cast Dolly G is because in Dolly G, I found this extremely beautiful, very queenly lady, right? Like very. like just so elegant, the way she dresses, the way she walks, the way she speaks. There is a certain queen behavior around her, which is so beautiful. So I knew that pairing up these two
Also,
would be
Prasanna, sorry to interrupt, but she's also, I mean, mothers are actually like that rather than the thali waving mother of Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. I mean, they recognize their children's faults and they understand them, but they love them despite it. That is
yeah, and they
actually
bajaw us
how
all the
mothers
time.
are. They're not,
Yeah,
always bowing down and worshipping their
yeah.
progeny.
No, no. In fact, they bajaw us all the time as we should be, and I think it's a beautiful. I love my mom. I love mothers in general because I think that's why I love this movie a lot because the original also had it, right? Like Heavier Feathers, original Campeones is such a beautiful film, and I was asked very almost apologetically, like, is it okay? It's a remake. Would you like to do it by Sony way back? I said, of course, I'd love to adapt a movie because a movie adaptation is an art by itself, you know. And I have made one of the most original films called Kalyana Samel Sadam. So why should I shy away? And then I adapted it in Hindi myself. So I think the problem comes when you don't acknowledge the source material or you keep it like
Yeah.
wink, wink.
I mean, otherwise, why would we want so many adaptations of, say, Pride and Prejudice or Blade Runner?
Absolutely,
I mean, we're obsessed with these adaptations. I mean, every
absolutely.
decade you have one, and we still watch it, and
Like Spider
we
Man.
consume it with so
Yeah,
much love and adoration. There is something to do with, for me. Look at Wuthering Heights. There's
yeah.
something about taking a beloved
Timeless material. Yeah.
screenplay, or yeah, and watching it again and again with a new interpretation.
Exactly. So even Spider-Man, for example, every 5 years you have a
Yeah,
reboot,
exactly.
and
Why
you have a
do we
different
still watch it?
Batman. So I think of course there is. I think I think there is a lot of opportunity for taking. See, at the end of it, I'm just a storyteller. I've long past gone. I had that fragile ego when I was making films that it has to be me. Every frame has to be me. When I was possibly in my first year college. That's how you start, and that's beautiful. You should start. I think that artistic ego is very important to start. But I think eventually, I realized that what really moves me is I'm a Rasika at heart, right? I think it's a more beautiful life to live as a Rasika, where I get to kind of admire people around me, admire the work. I think eventually I figured out that I am not even 0.01% talented as I want to be, and I think I just want to be a Rasika all my life. So you get great material, and of course you as a director, you know the craft, and I enjoy the craft of adapting material. So I think for me, when the original film had this beautiful mother character, which Amir and I really loved, and the writer Divyanidhi Sharma took it a notch higher. So he's fantastic. He comes from a very he loves the middle class in India. He debates it, he critiques it just like I do.
Sorry, can you
But
tell me a little more about Divya Nidhi? Because I've been seeing his name and coming up in
yeah,
so
yeah,
many
he's an amazing.
credits. And yeah, who is he? Where is he from?
So Divyanidhi Sharma is a good friend of mine. I met him almost maybe 7 years ago, and I was astounded by his writing, and I was wondering why is he not making films in Bollywood? He's from here, he's a TV writer. He writes Anupama. He created and wrote
Oh,
Chiraya right now, which is rocking
yeah,
the
I know
charts in Hotstar.
which is being talked about. Yeah, I watched it. It's
Yeah,
quite
he did. Yeah,
powerful.
he did. Then later on, he went on to do uh, the additional dialogues and additional writing in Lapata Ladies and
Yeah.
Hiramandi and all that. So wonderful guy. So when we saw the original film and we started discussing, we wanted to preserve and do justice to the original film. We wanted to keep like 90% of it intact and kind of just adapt it, because adaptation is a job by itself. But when it came to this mother scene, right? Both of us felt it needed a larger scene. In the original, it is kind of the lift opens up. You see this couple and the guy is shocked and then you end there, which perhaps is fine. But intuitively as Indian males, putting ourselves in the shoes of Gulshan, we felt that there is a huge potential for conflict resolution and whatnot, right? And I think what I loved about what Divya did was he made it like seem like a detour, but then he brought it back with the Sitare teaching him a lesson of inclusivity, right? So I think that is why that scene became even special, apart from the humor. And then coming to, let us say, the way Amir sir reacted throughout, I love his reactions. And it is Dolly G who told that that scene pops so beautifully because of Amir's reactions, because his reaction is at once lovable and at once not upstaging and giving the spotlight to these two legendary actors. And I think I'll tell you two things. So one is when Dolly G completely transforms into this 18-year-old girl in love when she sees, you know, Kalaji, and that was brilliant. And also, I think there was a dialogue we added which came actually from Amir sir. So we were wanting to nail this thought that in Gulshan's mind, a mother is just a mother and she can't be all this. He's pissed off, right? So we wanted to nail this thought, and in rehearsal or in the first take, so beautifully. So Genelia has the dialogue which is scripted, which is "मम्मियों का भी life होता है, Gulshan." मम्मियों का लाइफ होता है एंड आई थिंक AK very spontaneously said मम्मियों का कुछ लाइफ नहीं होता है which was so brilliant and which just was the exact climax of that scene, that's who we are and most of us
Yeah.
are. And I think it was beautiful, and it was very clear that he should stay that way. Like, see, quite often we do the mistake of thinking inclusive means agreeing with everything. Inclusivity is I include you in my life even though I disagree with you, and that's absolutely fine as long as a disagreement is not about life threatening issues like you want to kill me and I want to kill you. But I think otherwise it's fine, and I think in that sense you see again that Gulshan has got a good heart. He's like, I know my mom is happy with him, I hate that guy, and it's not about I hate him because of social level, nothing. I can't stand the fact that he's taking my mom away, and all this is unsaid, right? So it makes it cute. So I think I love those characters who are cute, who are cute in their quirks. And I'm a big fan of PG Woodhouse actually. So in PG, you see a lot of that Wooster and Jeeves thing going on, right? You also see it in Woody Allen movies. You see it in
You also see it
Ross.
in Oscar. You see it in Oscar Wilde as well.
Oscar Wilde. You see it in
It's
Steve
that same,
Carell
yeah.
in
It's that same
Office.
sort of cheekiness.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think, but it for me, I think I've always been a fan of PG Woodhouse, right? And RK Narayan also. You see, there's a match. Certain these characters who are very very, like Wooster would say the most obnoxious things and think he's he's right, and he would just do things which are bizarre. He would be going in to break up with a girl and end up getting engaged to the other girl. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. But somehow when PG Woodhouse writes it, you believe it. I think because these masters, they know, they kind of observe people, they live life, they live a very rich life. So they must have seen a character like that in real life.
Which is
Yeah.
something that we're missing a little in the industry right now. People are living off cinema that they've watched, not the lives that they've led.
That's true. That's true. I
They're
think
borrowing from movies that they've seen, that they've grown, which is okay, but you need to bring it your own lived experience as well, right?
I agree. It was Balu Mahendra ji who told me. He was my guru in my film school, and he told me something beautiful, Kaveri. I think you'll also like it. He said, "Prasanna, a bad." He said, what did he say? He said, an average filmmaker copies from other movies. A great filmmaker copies from life.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's a similar thing that Nora Ephron, who wrote Sleepless in Seattle and a whole lot of
yeah,
other books and screenplays. She says everything is copy. So
yeah.
everything that you go through, everything is up for writing and interpreting and
Absolutely.
translating. So, I mean, there's
In fact,
no, you should have a filter.
yeah. In fact, I'm currently preoccupied with the writing of Srinivasa Ramanujam. I'm attempting a biopic on the genius mathematician from
Oh,
Tamil Nadu, and
wow.
we are looking at it as a kind of like a collab between the West and us. You know, like an international story, because innately it is about mathematics and about
Yeah.
Hardy and this absolutely brilliant bromance, right?
And I
So
didn't quite like the movie that was made with Dave Patel. I don't think it did justice to him.
yeah, I think it needs an Indian
Yeah.
telling for one, but though that is not the only reason, I think there are so many more layers to his story, right?
Yeah.
And like the British, I think the Western thought and pedagogy versus our Indian intuitive, like the Aryabhatta coming up with the zero and all those things vis-a-vis, let's say an Einstein coming up with something. What is a I'm very fascinated by that Eastern, if I may use the word, our philosophy of ideas and where they come from. And it's very fascinating for me that in Cambridge, where it's so important to know who the author of your idea is, and which is the publication, and what is the paper, what is the proof, and what is the pedagogy, and there are people who want to judge you on that, and then say yes, this idea, which is great. There comes a man who says the God gave me this idea. Namagiri Devi came in my dreams and told me this, and I'm not interested in any equation which does not have a touch of God in it. So they would have been like, and I see it as a funny movie. Like it's again like a PG Woodhouse version of British society. Imagine into a Worcester land, a guy walks into it just quoting Namagiri Devi and Shiva and Parvati. They would have gone crazy. So I'm
It's like
keeping
what
that
Gandhi did to the Brits. He went
exactly.
in his dhoti and he,
Yeah, yeah,
met
yeah,
the
yeah.
king and said, "You're wearing enough clothes for the both of us."
Exactly. So that wit of the Indian, I think that's what I wanted to bring out. Like here is a genius. He would not have been intimidated by them at all, and a very spiritual guy. So I think in Ramanujam also I'm exploring where ideas come from. Is it truly yours? So coming back to what you were also saying about copying, not copying, and all that. So I think that I truly believe that we are just mediums of
Yeah.
whatever we have read and the masters that have come. Of course, you add your own twist to it, but that is also part of life. Like I remember even for Kalyana Samel Sadam and Shubmangal Savdan, right? I was going through. Those was that was the time when I was trying to make films, and my wife was working in the corporate, so she would bring in more money than I would bring in, and she brought in the financial stability for me, right? And I'm eternally grateful to her for that. And so one day when I was making food at home, dinner at home, and this thought came to my mind of what if this guy can't get it up. So then later on, doing a Freudian analysis of it, and in retrospect, I think I was somewhere channeling the financial impotence a man goes through, while trying to be an entrepreneur or trying to follow his dreams, and how much of a support my wife was throughout those 4 5 years, right? And I did see a lot of women and men kind of get appalled at this concept of a man sitting at home, you know, and oh God, he's also cooking for his wife. Oh my God, wife was earning money for you. Oh my God, how.
But
So
I
it was
think
very
COVID
similar.
brought us down to earth very quickly after that. I don't know whether it
Yeah.
has changed attitudes permanently, but it definitely changed some dynamic in the family life.
No, I still think that a man's financial thing, like with a lot of women now earning money, hopefully that will change. But just to say that we all are made to feel disabled or
Yeah.
impotent in many ways, right? And I think my whole thing is about that's okay, provided you have somebody to give you that love and support, right? Like so therefore in Shubmangal you had that character of Sugandha. Here you have Sunita who's actually walking away, but in still being with him. I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And his mother with him, but telling him to get out. So that's beautiful. There's just get out of my house. And so I think it's
And
just
that's
taken from
actually
life.
all mothers. I mean, after a certain point,
Yeah,
you
yeah, it's
don't
all the
want a
same.
clingy 40-year-old, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My mother would. I remember my father telling me with all the love that, "Beta, I really love you, but just get out after marriage." That's
Okay, I think
that's the
we're
love we
running out
get.
of time, Prasanna. So I just want to bring you back to the conversation around the, you know, how much is too much and how do you keep that delicate balance?
Sure. So I think it depends on your. I think for me, I find humor to be very important, right? And I want an audience. I really don't want to. I don't look at my audience as stupid guys who need to be taught a lesson. I'm looking at my audience enjoying a laugh, you know. Uh, and I think I find it very fascinating that all of us are evolved in certain ways and all of us are not evolved in certain other ways, and that's fine, right? So I think, again, going back to R. K. Narayan, P.G. Woodhouse, I think there has always been a compassionate satire or a compassionate criticism. You know, they're not coming with a sense of superiority or a sense of condescension or a sense of lecturing. I think they come from just seeing all the foibles of human life and laughing at it and laughing at themselves first. So I think when you laugh at yourself, then you know maybe you don't cross too many lines. But I understand where you're coming from. It's with social media, with all of so many things, anything can get out of hand. So also one also believes in the movie gods favoring you eventually. Yeah.
And the last point I think was the tribute to the families. They're often overlooked in when we discuss all sorts of mental health issues. I think the families are in your movie are not portrayed always or not at all as victims. They find their joys, they find their moments, and they learn to live with it. And I think that is actually so true, and so true, and such a powerful emotion for families who have lived or are living with people with mental health issues, that I think it was it's very healing for such people to see themselves reflected on screen. I think that was really well done.
Thank you. I think it was just a reflection of the real story. Honestly, when I met
Yeah.
all the families, and they were such pillars of support. I think the family is a superpower. It can destroy you, and it can completely build you up. So, which is why it's important. It takes a village to raise a child, right? It takes maybe 1 or 2% to destroy it. So building requires more effort. So I think blessed are those who have found families who love them unconditionally. Because Kaveri, I must say that in this process of making this film, we saw audition tapes of 2,500 actors, and it was heartbreaking for me to say that only these people are selected and these people are not, because I had a job to do. And if I do my job, only then will the larger cause be served. However, what I took away from that 1 year of auditions, Kaveri, is that I think money is a huge privilege, and family is a huge privilege. Love and understanding is a huge privilege. The child who grows with all these three, at least enough of it, gets a better chance at life. And then you see so many children have maybe one of it or don't have any of it, and you can see that their development is affected. So even more in neurodivergent people, you see the difference a lot more. So when you see all the 10 people on screen and the others who came in the movie, they're all people. Most of them are people whose families have stood by them, and who was whatever money they had, they put it into the the proper education, special education, and have given them the confidence. So I think, and I've seen people who are broken because their families are constantly tearing them apart, or they don't have families at all. So then it requires an extraordinary courage to stand up. So I think we had a special screening of this movie, I think, in one of the centers for children who are it's called children in conflict with law. And then there is children who are lost, who are who've been abandoned or lost. And Kaveri, they saw this film on YouTube, and and then they had a special. They were so happy. Like you said, they just came home, and the human spirit is just unbelievable. One ought to take all our children. So then I plan to take my kids there, and just the amazing spirit of those guys. I cannot imagine what will happen if I were in that position, right? Like, I don't have parents, and then yet here they are receiving a filmmaker, they're watching a film, they're laughing. They were so sharp and so intelligent. They picked up so many things in the movie, which the very senior critics would be able to watch. It's just marvelous. So I think, yeah, I'm always fascinated by that, yeah, because we have so much of negativity going around everywhere. So I feel there should be some hope always, and the human spirit is
The
unbelievable.
last The last question, Prasanna, in this age of AI, there's a lot of chatter around neurodivergence and how people who are neurodivergent may well be the ones who will emerge much more stronger in this age where all intelligence is flattened. Therefore, the neurodivergent may well be the person who will emerge stronger because he or she thinks in a different way as opposed to this flattening out of sort of intelligence and everyone thinking the same way, everyone conforming to the same intelligence ideal. What do you think, having observed so many children now from close quarters?
I think the brain is fascinating. I think it's as fascinating as space travel and the cosmos and all that, right? We've hardly tapped into not even the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So I remember reading this mind blowing book called Phantoms in the Brain. And it had such lovely, uh, uh, just lovely, what do I say, mysteries of the brain or magic of the brain. So I don't think we've even scratched the surface, so to speak, of the brain, right? So coming to what you're saying, well, certainly people who are going to be thinking out of the box, they are going to be ruling the world because they always have, and people who are not, uh, usually people who are like kind of made fun of and felt othered and felt uh, not included. They were all the ones who went on to rule the world. If you actually see history, it's always that guy who's always been, So I think that will continue to be the case. That will continue to be the case. In the larger, I think, study of the human brain and the way brains work, certainly, I think there's a lot of research about how. Recently, I read a book called The Molecule of More, which is a fascinating, very well written and very readable book on dopamine, right? And in that, it there's a lovely theory which says that actually talent itself is like a kind of like a diluted form of what can later on become schizophrenia. Like, you're able to hear voices, you're able to see visions which don't exist. you know Also, almost all of us dream, and in dreams we are completely creative. So all of us are born creative. So I think there's a lot of studies to be done. And I think with Sitare, what I learned, Kaveri, is that I was left wanting to be a better man, wanting to be more patient, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And what I take away from them is that they have never once talked to me with a victimhood mindset. Never. They have never spoken about how they suffered, how and they've gone through so much in life. They only speak about the present moment, about how they're having fun, or so I think that's beautiful. Nina Vaidya, my special needs consultant, our special needs consultant on the movie, said something, and I'd love to close with that. She said that the state of mind that a spiritual master acquires after years of meditation in the Himalayas, these guys are born with it. So that was just so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best for the Sony premiere and I'm sure you'll get a whole new audience with it. This is one of those films that will be rewatched again and
Thank you.
again. And I
Thank
do
you.
look forward
Means
to
a lot.
your biopic. When can we expect it? The
Well, it's
Ramanuja
just
Ban.
started. It's just started. The energies are right. I'm meeting really exciting partners, so it'll have its own course. One I never know when it will start. That's something I don't look at, but it has started, and I'm having lovely conversations with really incredible scientists and producers and actors. So yeah, I think the universe will find a path for it in its own way.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.